What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, happy Thanksgiving, and how you doing?
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Doing well. Got to see the fam and hang out a little bit. What about you? Good day?
Yeah, good day, good day.
Good.
Black Friday now, and we got a little Black Friday special. I don't know if that's the way we should really call this, but talk a little Black Friday here on Players. It makes sense, right? I
Black
mean,
Friday deals.
Black Friday deals on players that we think the Angels should sign. But first, before we get that going, what's the best side? Thanksgiving. Random question there.
Oh, I saw you go here. I like mashed potatoes. Yeah, let's just be easy and say mashed potatoes because there are some things that my family do that are pretty good, but I don't know how many other people are doing the same thing. So we'll just go easy with mashed potatoes.
I'm a big yams guy. My aunt made some delicious. I don't know if it was my aunt or who made the yams this year, but it was absolutely fantastic. So I'm
Good.
gonna go with that. It's weird, I know, but like I'm a big sweet potato guy,
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course.
it's fine. So, with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching here at Talking Halos. Thank you for all the support. Good. Go ahead, subscribe, pound that. What is it? Pound the bell. Hit the bell so that you know
Yep.
when we post. Um, by the way, also shout out my brother texted me. He said, "Are you guys doing a podcast tonight?" So maybe got
Huge.
to kind of shout him out because he said he was going to listen. So a listener will
Um,
watch. I don't know, whatever he's going to do, but
the UW commit. The
UW,
UW
yeah,
commit.
it's kind of cool.
Congrats.
It's kind of cool, but don't let it. You're making his head get bigger. Like don't do that.
That's my job.
Yeah, don't do that. Thanks though. But go ahead, subscribe, like, follow wherever you are listening. You can follow us on all our social medias, X, Instagram, Facebook. You can follow myself on X at Jared_Timms, Nate Green 34. Let's get it rolling here, Nate. We got some news, not player news, but we didn't talk about the coaching moves that happened. Angels added a pitching coach, a hitting coach, and a coach that I've never heard used in baseball before. Um,
I've heard, just not Angels.
We'll get there. I know that I've actually I don't think I've ever like heard of it, but we'll get to that new coach. Would love to hear everybody who is watching us here on YouTube's feelings about the moves that the Angels have made, bringing in new pitching coach Barry Enright, former Angel, by the way. So there is that connection there. And if for me, and I know you guys are, a lot of people are like, oh, Barry Enright, like he wasn't a great pitcher with the Angels. Those type of guys tend to be the best pitching coaches. Like you and I know, we weren't the best pitchers out there. We were good pitchers, but we weren't the best. We had to actually study the craft and know what we were doing, and that's why we became coaches. And why we're able to, talk baseball so well. Like, not saying that Barry Bonds or Mike Trout or the best hitters in the game aren't good coaches, but it comes to them naturally. So the fact that those good hitters aren't great coaches makes a lot of sense. So Barry Enright joins the staff. Not the Diamondback you wanted, but part of the Diamondback staff. So you got to be a
Yeah.
little happy there, right?
Yeah, and he did learn some stuff from Dan Heron, which is good. The one thing I noticed with this move, which we didn't really talk too much about this either, kind of goes to the Troy Percival article. Enright seems to be a very hands-on coach. Like, yes, he can read the data. Yes, he understands it, but also like a guy who's going to actually make physical, mechanical adjustments to guys and not just be like, hey, the numbers say you need to
Yeah.
do this, so you should do that. I don't really know how to do that, but just do it because that's what the numbers say. So, from what we've read with Enright and things like that, it seems like he's more of that type of guy that's going to be like, all right, we got to make sure that our front shoulder's not going to fly open, so we got to we're going to add a weight to the glove, or just do some things to make sure that it works out for him. So that is one thing that I noticed with that. I do like the Dan Heron. He worked with Dan Heron. Dan Heron did a really good job there. Um, Seems like Perry kind of sees some issues with the starting pitching and thinks Barry can make an impact because from what we've heard, some of the things that Barry did really well in Arizona fit kind of what the Angels need to do better jobs at. So I don't know. It looks like it could be an interesting hire. Looks like on paper it looks at least fun.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying about the numbers. So the way that I've always, somebody explained numbers to me. Actually, he coached for the Cubs.
Numbers just back up what the
I,
coaches
I've
are
said it.
teaching.
I've said it 1,000. I've said it I think 1,000 times on this podcast, and I continue. Cubs coach, Cubs minor league coach, talked to me about this when I was working with him, and yeah, the numbers just back up what you see, right? Like those are what the
But
numbers
if you
are.
don't know how
How
to make adjustments,
exactly.
then it doesn't do
Mhm.
anything,
Yeah,
right? So
you
I think that's kind of what Percy was seeing a lot of, was like, that's great, you know what the problem is, but like, are you going to fix the problem?
yeah,
And I don't think he saw a lot of that. We didn't see a lot of adjustments out of guys this year.
no.
When you look at a Sandoval or a Detmers or even a Tyler Anderson, like there weren't really adjustments from those type of guys. But who knows? That was kind of what I was thinking of when I saw Barry
Yeah,
Enright and what he had been doing. So I'm
yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and one more last thing here for the pitching staff before we get on to new hitting coach and that last position that we were talking about. You mentioned it. 2021, it felt like big steps were made, or was it 2021? 2022, it felt like
Yep.
big steps. Yeah, 2022. 2022, it felt like good steps were made. Like Reed Detmers took steps in the right direction. He took more steps in the right direction in 23, but like Sandoval, steps in the right direction. Silseth, even, it felt like steps in the right direction. Those Sandoval and Silseth in particular, kind of, I felt like just, flatlined out.
I thought Silseth this last year took that step forward. I thought Detmers and Sandoval kind of stayed pat. Like Detmers, very similar 23 to 22, where he was he wasn't as good early. As the season went along, he got a little better.
Sandoval's probably
Sandoval,
point there for me.
I didn't see. Yeah, it was kind of like one step forward, two steps back for him.
Yep.
Didn't really see that next step that we were expecting him to take. We thought, there was a chance he was going to really solidify himself as a legit number two, and not like a, hey, you could make a playoff start, but like you're a number three guy. You're definitely not an ace, and you would be an underdog in every single game two matchup, basically. So hopefully Enright can get him right and make him that number two guy that we really need him to be.
Yep. And on to the next spot, new hitting coach Johnny Washington. No relation to Ron Washington, by the way. There, former Cubs hitting coach. Also Dodgers hitting coach. I think that could be Tim Laker.
Minor leagues with the Dodgers. With the actual Cubs this last year.
Yeah. Yep. And Johnny Washington, I mean, I went to was with the Cubs last year, I think, right? Or the year before that. And Cody Bellinger was obviously, a very, very good player there for them. And there's relations there. I know one of the big things that they talked about was Matt Carpenter and the changes that he made. And he was a big factor in that as well. So it's always good. Again, we talked about Barry Enright having that connection. And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, Cody Bellinger, I mean, we talked about it before in the past, like, could Cody Bellinger be an Angel here pretty soon? Like they miss out on Shohei Ohtani. I know you don't want to go that route, but could Cody Bellinger be an Angel? There's this connection.
It's possible.
Washington. Talk about Johnny Washington for me. I know there's not a lot out on him, but there are the good connections of, like he has success with guys. He has really good success with players.
Yes. I mean, for me, I look at what the Cubs did this last year. Christopher Morel kind of takes that next step forward. He kind of becomes a for sure everyday guy this year because of what he was able to do this year with the Cubs. And you saw Ian Happ continue to get better. I don't know. I just really think the Cubs took that next step forward. Nico Horner had a pretty good year. Obviously Cody Bellinger had an amazing year. They were just missing a piece or two. The Cubs were to really take that next step forward. But I think with that veteran leadership of Swanson and Bellinger, I think Washington really made strides to help these guys get better. And they were a pretty good offense for what they had. They weren't an elite offense by any means, but they were definitely better than expected. Nobody had them as a borderline playoff team, and honestly, the hitting carried them a lot. The pitching was just okay. You had Steele, who pitched really well, but behind Steele, it wasn't anything crazy. And he's coming from the Dodgers minor league system, which you rave about, the Dodgers minor league system, and how good the Dodgers have been at bringing guys up. So he's done a good job of preparing those guys to be big leaguers, and then he did a good job with the big leaguers this year. So I'm again intrigued. We'll see how it really comes down to, are these players going to listen to the coaches, and because it looks like the coaches are going to try to put these players in the best opportunity to succeed, right? Like that's kind of been the
one thing that we
issue I've
think
had
is,
with
yeah.
Phil and that staff. It was like you didn't have guys who had been there before and done it. It was like we don't really know what you're doing. This staff right now, it feels like it's a very veteran staff who has been at kind of every level except for Ryan Goins. But with Ryan, he's going to have Ron right behind, kind of teaching him things. So I think this staff is as well equipped to make these guys feel like they are properly prepared every single day. And that's all you really can ask for. And now it's up to the players to take what they have learned and take it to the next step and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do to get better. And if they do, then this could be a really fun year. If they don't, well, then we could be in the same spot as we've been. But it does feel like this staff is in a spot to allow these players to take that next step.
Yep. And on to the final spot the Angels hired. Yes, this is a baseball move. Again, I haven't heard too many teams that do this. I had to look it up. I know there are a couple out there that do it. New offensive coordinator, Tim Laker. Brilliant offensive mind. Coming from the Dodgers as well. Did I see that, or am I off on that one? He's kind of been all over the place. I think he's been around for a very long time. And again, a very interesting move here with Tim Laker. Just because of the name of his position, which for me, it's new to me. Like, what is an offensive court? Is he going to be the guy that calls the plays inside the dugout type of thing? Like, I don't know what an offensive coordinator does, and that, like, for me not to know that is very interesting. I'll have to get some more insight on that, Nate. I don't know if you have any idea what a major league offensive coordinator does.
Wasn't Vogt an offensive coordinator this last year, or was he the
He was
defensive coordinator?
a catching coordinator. So I guess, I mean, if you count it as a defensive coordinator, then
No. Vogt
no, I
had
know.
something. Let me check, because Vogt had
I'm
something
looking it up too.
a little bit different to his job title this last year.
Like I said, for me, offensive coordinator means that he is in charge of the offense, right? Like Ron's doing his thing. You have
Vogt was the quality. He was the quality
sure.
control coach, which kind of feels like the defensive coordinator.
I'm
I think honestly,
about that.
I know the Giants have had offensive coordinators in the past. Wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers have. For me, it's just more eyes in the dugout, more eyes in the clubhouse, more people to talk to. With 26 guys on the roster, if you have 3 guys in there that really can talk hitting, it allows other guys to do some things, right? Like EY can talk hitting, of course, but EY's got his own thing. Ron Washington could probably talk hitting, but again, Ron's got his own thing. And so just having 3 guys that are really able to help out, and maybe the one reason I really like having multiple people like that is because it allows people to explain the same thing differently. And I think that's giving the players another opportunity to learn the way that they learn.
You want to know who had an offensive coordinator last year?
The Mets.
The Texas Rangers.
You
want to know who their offensive coordinator was?
Tim Laker.
Donnie Ecker.
Oh, okay.
There you go. It's kind of cool to see the Angels do this. It feels like the Angels are always a step behind, and it feels like bringing an offensive coordinator of sorts is a step ahead. A step ahead of what major league teams are doing. Now, I'm sure that there have been offensive coordinators in the past. You just don't hear too much about it. So I'm intrigued. I want to know what he does, and if he's anything like Donnie Ecker. I know that Donnie Ecker is I wanted Donnie Ecker to be the manager, so that shows you how much I really like Donnie Ecker there in Texas. But the fact that you're able to do that is awesome. The one thing I will say that scares me, and this always comes up in the past, is that Perry and staff have always said that they want to do things like winning teams, right?
Yeah, but they don't know why.
Exactly. So would this move line up like that before we get on to the Black Friday deals? You get what I'm saying, right? Like that's I think you kind of get what I'm saying here, right?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I don't know if that absolutely lines up with that, just because I think Ron has been in enough clubhouses to know what guys do, right? Like, so I'm putting a lot of stock into Ron Washington and some of these guys, Eric Young Jr.,
Senior.
some of these guys that it's like, okay, you guys know what's going on. So I think that we just got to let it play out. The way that Perry has done things in the past, he doesn't really have an answer for. And I was just thinking about it as we get on. Like, if I have to hear one more thing about how good of a job Perry's done, I'm going to lose it, because it's like, what has he done well? He hasn't done well in free agency. He's been the first guy to get guys to the big leagues. That's great, but the guys that have gotten to the big leagues, they haven't really been superstars yet, right? So did he bring them along too fast? We don't know. So I'm just really waiting for Perry to do something where it's like, wow, this makes sense. This is kind of the first thing in Perry's tenure where I'm like, wow, this makes sense with Ron Washington. So I'm hoping that carries on into the rest of the offseason.
Yeah, just trying to look at teams that have been good in the past, and like the Braves have a hitting consultant that's Chipper Jones, for what it takes. And I'm looking at the Astros here, and I don't see an offensive coordinator. You know, you get the quality assurance coaches and things like that, but yeah. So an interesting move to say the least. We will see where this takes the Angels. If it's a good move, it's a bad move. I got no issue with more eyes on players like that, and more different ways to explain things to players, because that's the name of the game. So let's get on to Black Friday deals here. Qualifications for Black Friday deals, because I know you asked me this, was players that are going to get a deal that is better than what they're worth. So like Shohei Ohtani gets a $20 million deal, right? No, he's not going to get that. But if he was, it's like, wow, that's a really good deal for Shohei Ohtani. He's getting $20 million a year. Like, you know, that's pretty inexpensive. So would love to hear anybody's thoughts on some of these Black Friday deals. If you guys have anybody that you can think of that makes a lot of sense. Nate, do you have anybody, or do I need to start?
I mean, I got a couple guys, but I want you to start. I want to see where you're at, because I've got like 5 guys right now offensively that I'm like, is this really what he's looking for? Or
Okay. My first guy, and I'm not going to say like the big name, like the TV here, because I got a guy that's like the TV. You know, it's like, oh, this guy could be a good deal. And we talked about him a couple podcasts ago, so you know where I'm going with that one. The first guy that kind of really pops out to me is Nick Senzel. Can play the infield, can play the outfield.
are you kidding me?
That did you pick
Are
him? Is
you kidding me?
that your first
Yeah,
guy?
he was on my list,
Good.
and we
Yeah,
didn't
there we
even.
go. Yeah. So Nick Senzel was like, I was looking through it. That's the name that keeps popping up to me. Can play the infield, can play the outfield. Has been good in the past. Didn't have a great year last year, but there were a lot of guys coming up, so I don't think he got a lot of time to play either. Which worries me a little bit, that if you're bringing him off the bench, that's rough. But I think you can get him on a fairly inexpensive major league deal, or even a minor league deal, and bring him in as a spring training invite. And this is somebody that the Angels need. They need somebody that can play the infield, that can play the outfield. And that has been pretty stinking good in the past. So that's my first guy there. And I'm sorry I took your guy, but I don't know if
That's
you.
actually funny though, that because I
Yeah,
was like,
that
oh,
was the
you know
first
what?
guy.
He makes sense. Like, he's played some third base in the past. Like, he could play third base.
Yeah,
If Rendon can't, he's okay with being a bench guy. He's played center field. He's played
exactly.
second base. Like, he kind of makes sense with what the Angels need.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start with this guy. I'm going to go Mike Moustakas. I think he gets a relatively cheap deal, possibly a minor league deal. And he's played first base, he's played second base, he's played third base. Veteran leadership, good clubhouse guy, something the Angels need. One thing the Angels need, I'm going to stress this a lot during the offseason besides pitching, but they need a leader in the clubhouse. Like, they have not had a leader, a vocal leader in the clubhouse in some time. I think the last guy for me is Torrey Hunter. That's the last vocal veteran leader this team has had. You can say Albert Pujols really isn't that guy. Mike Trout's not that guy. Anthony Rendon's not that guy. So I want them to go out and get a leader. I don't know if Moustakas makes 100% sense with that, because you really want that guy to play a lot. Um, but I think he kind of fits the mold of, hey, he can play first, he can play second, he can play third, he could DH if you need him to, move around the infield and just give you a chance to win. But I don't know. That was my first thought.
I like it. It's not definitely not a bad move. I don't know what the contract's going to be there. He could. I mean, he played decently well for the Angels. I don't think he's going to get
3 mil under.
yeah, exactly, something like that. And
1
I mean,
year, 2 mil.
seemed to like Anaheim. So they I mean, nothing
He's
bad was
born and
ever said.
raised in LA ish.
Yeah. So makes a lot of sense to me. Next one. I mean, I'm just going to say this one because I think it makes a lot of sense. We talked about him a couple of podcasts ago. Tim Anderson. I think that he's going to get an inexpensive deal for what he's worth. I know we had a lot of people like, oh, he sucks. It's like, go look at his stats in the past. He had a bad year.
He was hurt last year.
He was hurt last year. I got another guy that was hurt last year too. That kind of makes a lot of sense. I'm actually hoping that you kind of pick him.
I might. This could be the guy then if we're going that route.
We'll see. But Tim Anderson's that guy for me. Is a guy for me that's like makes a lot of sense if you can get him in between. And this was the TV for me. It's like, okay, it's going to be a little more expensive, but you're getting a good deal on him. It's a 1-year deal as well. So if you have a bad year, you trade him away, and somebody's going to take him because he's going to have a decently good year. Someone's going to take a chance on him. And he's I wouldn't say he's a clubhouse nuisance. I wouldn't say he's a bad clubhouse guy, but he is somebody that has a little bit of flair. And I like that. You put him right next to Zach Neto, and that's a fun up the middle team. He can probably play a little third base if Rendon goes down or anything like that. So I'll let you take the next guy away, but Tim Anderson's a good team. I think he gets a good deal for me.
All right. I've actually liked this guy for a while. Alberto Mondesi. Okay.
I had him on my list too.
Yeah. I figured you had him on the list,
yeah.
But I think the Angels really need this lineup's not going to be overly offensive. It's not going to be a lot of power hitters right now. They could go that way. I don't think this lineup is built to be that way. So I think you got to get a guy who's going to steal 40 plus bags, who's going to be just a threat all the time. He can do some things with the bat, whether it's bunt, hit and run. He's gonna move a lot. He can play second. He can play short. He probably could play third if you needed him to. Noticing a trend with my guys so far, guys that can move around the diamond, because that's what the Angels need. Mm-hmm. And I think it could be a minor league deal, honestly. Some people might be like, no shot, but he's been hurt the last couple of years, coming off the torn ACL a year and a half ago now. So I think he actually could get a minor league deal, and that would be a good get on a minor league deal.
Yep. And I'm going to throw a couple more names out there when we get on to the pitching side of stuff. We talked about him before. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I think, makes a lot of sense. Might have been on your list. Kyle Lewis is somebody for me who's been good in the past that probably gets a minor league deal, and 28 years old, just coming into his prime. A guy that makes a lot of sense for, he due for breakout, right? A Joe Adell type of guy who it's been like top prospect for a while, just never really took that next step, got hurt, so I'd like to see the Angels take a chance on a guy like that. And then the guy that I was mentioning that was hurt last year, it wasn't Mondesi. He was on my list, but Austin Meadows was a guy who was hurt last year. He's had success in the past. Left-handed bat. I know he's a DH. I know he's maybe in a corner outfielder. I know he's a first baseman. The Angels don't need that, but that's a guy that you take a chance on. Maybe stick him in Salt Lake and let him hit 50 home runs in Salt Lake.
I had one more guy that you're missing that I wanted to kind of mention. I think Harrison Bader's that guy. I think Harrison Bader again fits that mold of is going to be able to steal 30 bags if he's right, if he's healthy. I think get him out of New York and just let him play baseball. He plays the game hard. He can cover a lot of ground. He plays pretty good defense. I think he makes a lot of sense. And for him, like when healthy, when he was with St. Louis, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I think people were thinking he's probably getting like 15 mil a year. I think you didn't really see too many people like jump on him. He's kind of a right-handed Kevin Kiermaier. So I think you might be able to get him for like 7.5, which is a really good deal for a guy who could be a quality everyday guy.
Yep. So position players done. Those are the tough ones, I think, is to find the diamonds in the rough there. Angels done a decent job of it, but I think those are the tough ones to find those guys that are going to be good. Pitching wise, we're not going to do relievers because you can literally go down the list of players and it's like, yeah, that guy makes sense, that guy makes sense, and why we don't think that spending a lot of money in the bullpen makes a lot of sense. Now, starting pitching wise, this is where I think the Angels need to get a lot deeper, and we haven't heard a lot about them in the pitching market yet, which scares me a little bit on that side of stuff. But guys that could be, you know, have decent years, maybe coming off injuries or bad years or something like that. Do you have any names? Or you guys still got to look, because I was gonna let you go first here.
I'll go first.
Go ahead. See if you take my guys. I got two.
Yeah. I think one guy that's going to get overlooked in this free agent market, just because he is kind of a top end pitcher. I don't think he's looked as a top end pitcher because of his age. He's 33 years old. He isn't qualified, which is nice. So you can just kind of sign him. Don't have to worry about losing a draft pick. I think Marcus Stroman's that guy. I was not big on Marcus Stroman a couple years back, but I've seen numbers where it's like 4 years, $44 million, $11 million for a guy who's been pretty good for the Cubs the last couple of years, who's walking away from I believe about $20 million, which is the reason why I was like, I saw like $45 million for 4 years. Even if it was for 3 years, that's still a steal compared to he was walking away from about $20 million. He kind of has that bulldog mentality that we're looking for. Not an ace by any means, but a quality pitcher who's going to throw up good numbers when healthy. And I don't know. I think he could get overlooked in this free agent market.
That's fair. I'm going to take a guy that I know is on your list here because I need to be able to talk about somebody a little bit better. Brad Keller. I have a feeling he might be on your list. Is he not? Is he on your list? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Of course.
Weird. Brad Keller coming off a couple bad years in a row. However, you look at his 2018, 2019, 2020 seasons, very, very good pitcher. Well above, actually had a 1.15 ERA plus in each one of those years. And had a really good 2020. I know we discount 2020, but like I think he probably got some Cy Young votes that year. Stuck on a tough team. Those are the type of guys that you look for. It's like, who's ready to take that next step. Fairly young as well. I think he's 28? Is he? No, he's a little older than that now. No, he is. He's only 28. He'll be 29 next year. Still in his prime. Somebody that you almost could give multi-years to, I feel like, and feel kind of comfortable about it and get him for a lot less. Kind of like you were talking about Marcus Stroman. Might I add, like I said, I think I asked right off the bat to Stroman get 25 million whenever we talked, and I don't think Stroman's going to get 25 million. But the fact that they're talking about him getting maybe 11 million, getting less than Tyler Anderson's really, really, really interesting in my opinion there for Stroman.
If he gets less than Tyler Anderson, I'm going to throw my freaking computer.
All right. Regardless here, Brad Keller is a guy that I think could make a lot of sense. Somebody who's an innings eater, has only thrown 160 innings plus once in his career. 45 innings last year. He's coming off an injury, didn't play all that well. But somebody who you might be able to maybe get on a minor league deal with a spring training invite, and be able to store him down in AAA or something like that. So go ahead and shout off. I don't know. Do you have another one, or do you only have one guy?
I do. And I've been telling you this guy for a while. Eric Lauer pitched with Milwaukee, been coming off a bad year, a really bad year. So you guys are going to be like a 6.56 ERA in 10 games, 9 starts, not good. The last 2 years, 3.69, 3.19, 158 innings, 118 innings. So like fits right in with what the Angels are pretty much running out there, about 150 innings, 135, 150 innings. He's been fine. I think he gets, again, haven't really heard about him. He's kind of not really mentioned too much in the media with free agency. So minor league deal for him would be an absolute steal. I don't know if he gets that, but I think he signs for $5 million or less, honestly. And if you getting that guy for $5 million or less, like those are numbers that like we're asking for right now, is throw 150, 160 innings and have a 3.5 ERA. Like if Tyler Anderson would have done that last year, I would have been ecstatic.
All right, off Tyler Anderson there, my guy. Okay, my last guy here, more of a high upside guy, has shown a lot of potential. I've always been in on any Detroit Tiger. Love Detroit Tigers pitching, by the way. Spencer Turnbull. Yep, Absolutely. Coming off injury in
That was the
2022.
one guy that I was going to mention if you didn't.
Yep. That's my guy there. 2021 was a fantastic pitcher, only pitched in 50 innings. Did he have Tommy John that year, or was it shoulder? I think it was Tommy John in 2021 that he was pitching really, really well. Like talking about like an all-star candidate to start the all-star game, and then got hurt, I think, that year. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong there. I know you're looking it up. Didn't pitch in
It says
2022. Wow.
it says right elbow sprain, so I'm guessing that's probably
Tommy
a
John.
TJ.
TJ. Put him on the 60
Yeah,
day.
right forearm strain. Yeah, it's TJ.
Yeah, definitely TJ there. 2022 didn't pitch. 2023, Nate, we've talked about this before. He lines up perfectly right now. Minor league deal could be a real good get. Honestly, I would be so intrigued as to I would give him a major league deal with incentives, like that Brett Phillips type, like 1-for-1, like stupid inexpensive, but you give him
Just give him a minor league deal.
That's fine. I'm just saying
If he takes the
that's how
if he
confident
takes the
I'm.
minor league deal,
That's how confident I am in him. I would give him. I wouldn't offer, I don't think, but like I would think about like if they came to me with a major league deal, I'd be like, sure, I'll give you 1-for-1. You're on the 40-man. You're here for us. That Brett Phillips type of guy. And if you get hurt, you can't pitch or something like that, like it's $1 million. It's fine. But I'm actually feeling very confident here. He had a 7 ERA last year with Detroit. Struggled with command, struggled with velocity, everything that you look at coming off of Tommy John. So Spencer Turnbull would be that last final guy for me. With that being said, you got anybody else, or was Turnbull?
Zach, please, Zach.
Okay,
Zach, please, Zach.
Good.
Just because coming off, he pitched well for Cleveland a couple years ago. 2020 was kind of, and I know we don't talk about 2020 too much, but when he got in trouble for going out to visit family or friends or something like that during the 2020, his tenure with Cleveland just absolutely got killed right there. It was like they were like, we don't want you anymore, go somewhere else. And there was just no trust in the org with him, and he didn't pitch well, and they sent him down, and now he's a free agent. And I think you give that guy just a little bit of confidence, like, hey, we brought you in. You're here to pitch. You're not here to be, just on the roster. You're here to be a guy for us. And I think he could be, better than he could put up Griffin Canning numbers.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, like, again, when it comes to the bullpen, it comes to starting pitching. This is where we talk about this every year. If you guys are avid listeners of the podcast, especially in the offseason, we talk about this every year. This is where the Angels need to get deeper. This is where the Angels have lacked a lot of, and they've actually done a good job in the bullpen. You look at guys that have left the Angels, that have gotten DFA'd and gone on, like not Jonathan Holder. I'm gonna forget who it was that went to Baltimore.
Jacob Webb is
a guy, like they've had
that was the ultimate sucker play. They allowed Baltimore to think he's pretty good. They use him in the postseason, and then they let Texas just absolutely smash him in the postseason. Like,
all right,
genius.
You get what I'm saying though. They've done good in the good in the bullpen. They've had some decent depth. They're gonna have to do it again. They lost a lot of those guys.
You throw in Jacob Webb, I raise you a Ryan Tepera.
They paid $7 million for him. We didn't like that contract. I'm not giving you that one. They paid $7 million.
I raise you Aaron Loop.
They gave him $7 million. I'm not giving you that. We're talking about Black Friday deals. Jacob Webb was a minor league sign that. Think about it in when was it? 2020 when they got Tony Watson and Steve Cishek for $1 million contracts, and that was one of the best bullpens the Angels had in a while. Because they were deep and because those guys were put in the correct situations. Now, Steve Cishek wasn't an 8th inning guy for me, but to go off on a little tangent there. But yeah, I mean, you got anybody else? You had please, Zach. You got anybody else there? You all good? You got any final thoughts for me?
That's good.
Jose Suarez getting DFA'd or what? No, we're not talking about. You haven't mentioned Jose Suarez in a hot second, so I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah. I'm honestly shocked he was tendered a contract. That just shows what a dysfunctional organization we have, that we're tendering Jose Suarez a contract when we expect to be a playoff team, which is an absolute joke. But
you need those arms. You need those arms in the minors. You need those arms.
He can't be in the minors.
Yeah, I understand that, but you.
So why are you tendering him a contract?
Yeah, you need that. He's shown that he can pitch at the major level to some degree. You need somebody.
He has.
You can't get rid of everybody. I mean, we've been over this. I would have got rid of 20.
You can get rid of everybody. They should get everybody because everybody sucks.
All right. All right.
Don't sleep on the Japanese market. I think there's some interesting guys out there not named Shohei Otani or Yamamoto, even though Yamamoto would be interesting. Think there's some players out there. The Angels could use a center fielder, second baseman, and some starting pitching. So we'll see. This is going to be an interesting couple of weeks. We're getting closer to the winter meetings and really starting to have some things heat up. So.
Yep, absolutely. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you're watching us on YouTube. Go follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow myself on X at Jared_Tims, Nate at Nate Green 34. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.